You know, it's kind of interesting. This is the time when cabinet level appointees of Mr. Trump's are being vetted. They're going to be asked questions about their potential conflicts of interest, all kinds of questions about their personal financial entanglements, potentially with public policy, as a condition of getting approved by the U.S. Senate. And yet the boss, and it could be anyone who had been elected president, isn't subject to the same vetting, can run for president in Massachusetts and in other states without telling us anything about potential conflicts of interest. So you have a president subject to fewer safeguards than all the other people he's going to appoint to run the federal government. This legislation that I proposed simply asks two things: that a practice common to both Republican and Democratic candidates for president be enshrined in law, because Mr. Trump broke with the voluntary practice of disclosing tax returns. But the other requirement here is that Mr. Trump also file the same kind of statement of financial interests that my colleagues and I filed when we run for state senate. This is a document that is a little different than a tax return. It doesn't focus on my contributions to charity in the way that my tax return does, something that you might be interested in when I'm running for office, when I'm running for president in particular. This asks the question, what are the sources of my investments? How might they be helped if I hold high office? If a candidate for state senate has to file a statement of financial interests, and she does, or he does, then I think anybody who runs for president on the Massachusetts primary or general election ballots here in the state should do the same thing. So we would ask, should you run for president, to see your tax return, and secondly, to have you file the same statement of financial disclosures that people like me file when we run for lower office. The idea here is not to be partisan. This kind of notion of transparency and disclosure so that you, the voter, can make a final informed decision is something that gains strength from both Republicans and Democrats backing it. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I would like to see members of both parties support this new legislation proposed for the 2017-2018 legislative session here in the Commonwealth.